Hello, welcome to the Quarter Acre Homestead. I'm Mariya, and today I'm going to show you how to make homemade gluten-free sourdough bread. So if you want to make bread, you do need to start a day ahead. So yesterday morning I got the sourdough starter from our fridge and I fed it and let it sit on the counter for the whole day. And so it got bubbly, it grew, and in the evening time is when I took some of that starter and made a pre-ferment for the bread. So once it's grown, the starter's grown, you take 300 grams of the activated starter, and we have this kitchen scale that we use. So we get another empty jar, mason jar, and you're going to put 300 grams of the activated starter into the mason jar, plus 200 filtered water. I don't really use filtered water. It's up to you. We just use the tap water. So 200 grams of tap water and 160 grams of sorghum flour. And you mix that up and you cover it. I usually cover it with like a cheesecloth or a cloth napkin and then fasten it with a rubber band and let it sit on the counter overnight. When you took some of the activated sourdough to make the pre-ferment, you'll have hopefully some left over in your jar of your starter, and you do want to feed that. So you want to feed it by giving it some more sorghum. So we usually have this 1/3 cup measuring spoon in our sorghum, and I would do maybe a half of this one or a little bit more than a half. Add some of that into your starter and add some more water to feed it, and then you just cover it up again, put the rubber band over, and put it in the fridge, and it can stay in your fridge for up to 2 weeks. So the next day your pre-ferment will look like this. We already took the cover off, but it's bubbly, it has liquid, it's grown, so this is ready to be put into your gluten-free sourdough bread recipe. So now, since you have your pre-ferment ready, we're going to go ahead and put the other ingredients together. The first thing that you want to do is get a 1.5 quart bowl like this. And what I'm going to mix here is my psyllium husk, maple syrup, and water. And this is the liquid part of the recipe. And you'll need 40 grams of the psyllium husk and then 40 grams of maple syrup. And then we need 600 filtered water. I don't use filtered water, I just use the tap. So measure out 600 grams. Okay, once you have those 3 ingredients in here, you get a fork and you want to mix it all really well. The psyllium husk will gel up, and the psyllium husk it works like the gluten would in regular bread, so it helps hold everything together. So then I just let it sit to the side while I move on to the next part of the recipe. I get my KitchenAid mixing bowl and put that on the scale and clear it to 0 grams. And the first ingredient for the dry mixture is tapioca starch, and you need 280 grams of tapioca starch and 320 of sorghum. And then the last ingredient for the dry mixture is salt, and that you'll need 24 grams of salt. And I just shake it until it reaches 24 grams. You could use a spoon, but this is how I always do it. 24. Okay. So now we have the dry ingredients, we have our psyllium husk wet mixture, and we have the activated sourdough or the pre-ferment. And now all I do is I just combine all these 3 parts together in the KitchenAid mixing bowl. Dump this out. Okay, and for this I do like to break it up a little bit. and then dump it all out. So you've got flour in there, psyllium husk, and the sourdough pre-ferment. After this, it's ready to go into our KitchenAid mixer. And I start off really slow because the flours are very fine and they'll just go poof all over the place. So for a few minutes, I'll let it go slowly like this. While that is mixing, I try to prepare the bowl. For when the bread is all mixed, I put the bread back into the psyllium husk bowl to rise. I get a tea towel and I open it like this, and I add a little bit of sorghum to this middle section, just like that, and I spread it out with my other hand. Might make a little mess, but that's okay. I just move the tea towel around and just press that flour in, and then I lay that floured section into the middle of the bowl. So this will be ready for our bread or our dough when it's mixed. So now I'm gonna increase the speed and make sure that the sides are all scraped in. They look really good. I don't have to scrape anything in. Sometimes, especially the tapioca starch, likes to stick onto the side. Okay, it looks mixed to me. So gluten-free sourdough bread does not have the same consistency as whole wheat sourdough bread, but it does, the psyllium husk does help it stick together. So this is what it looks like, and I just dump it out into my hand like this and kind of roll it in, well, try to shape it into a ball and then plop it into here. Just like that. Okay, so then I cover it up loosely. I'm not making it tight. I'm just covering it with the extra tea towel. Then you want to get some saran wrap, and actually I think I do it this way so it sticks to the glass bowl. It's very loose. Now this dough, this bread is ready to rise, and I give it about 4 hours. It depends on if your house is warm or cool. You know, if it's summertime, it could be ready in 3 hours. If it's winter time and it's cold in your house, it might need 4 or 4.5 hours. You just kind of, what I look for is this will start to bubble up and the saran wrap will be tight over the bread. And usually I do put it in my oven with the light on. The reason why I put it in the oven with the light is because it's warmer, and I just always make sure to put a little bit of masking tape on the start button of the oven to say, don't turn the oven on, there's bread in there, because you don't want to bake it before you don't want to bake it in all this. And so now we just wait for it to rise. I'm going to give it about 4 hours, and then I'll be back to show you what I do after it's all ready to be baked. Okay, so we have waited forever for this bread to rise because the day got away from us. It's been about 7 hours, and you can see that the saran wrap is stretched over there. The bread has risen. It's higher than it was when I first put it in here. First thing you want to do is preheat the oven to 425, and while it's preheating, you need to put a Dutch oven into the oven to preheat. So while that's preheating, that's the preheat. That's telling me it's preheated to 425. You unwrap the bread and you're just gonna gently plop it onto some parchment paper. And I have a knife ready here for scoring. Okay, so there it is. And what you want to do is make a pretty deep cut in the bread so that the bread can release steam. So I do a 45-degree angle, and I cut pretty deep and just halfway. So I kind of make a moon shape. And on this side, I do some kind of design. Usually I do a heart because I love my husband. So now it's ready to go in. Open this up, make sure the kids know the oven's open so nobody falls in. I grab this whole dough and put it into the Dutch oven. So I do try to cut these extra pieces of parchment paper because I've had them catch fire before. So don't want that. And then you cover it up and put it in the oven for 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, you take the lid off and then bake it for another 25 minutes. And after that, it is done. It's better for it to cool a little bit before you cut into it, because as I remember correctly, gluten-free sourdough bread is a bit gummy when it's piping hot. So it cuts a lot easier when it's cooled down. Okay, so the bread has cooled down completely. We're gonna cut it open and enjoy a slice. It's crunchy on the outside, has a nice golden crust, and on the inside it's soft and it smells delicious. It's time for some butter. I like a lot of butter. Okay, now the taste test. So good. It's very delicious. So good. Yeah, this is really good bread. Let us know if you give it a try and what you think of it, if you like it. And just keep in mind, this isn't wheat sourdough bread, so it's a bit different, but it's still really good and really delicious, and we're thankful we have sourdough bread we can eat. Oh, and let us know if you have any questions, any comments. If you have a recipe that you enjoy, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you again, and see you on the next video.